You know what, Twitter? I've decided I would like to buy you out.
Well, you can't buy us out. You don't have the money.
But you're a public company, yes? So I could just buy you out through the public shares.
Well, we don't want you to buy us out because we're happy with the way Twitter is currently.
I'm putting in my offer now. Gonna take Twitter private. And for the betterment of your shareholders, you better take this or else you may have a lawsuit on your hands.
All right, fine, Elon. I guess you can buy us out.
Hold on a second. Wait a minute. There are lots of bots. I don't like all of the bots on Twitter. They're not bots made by Tesla. Therefore, I no longer am interested in buying Twitter.
But you already agreed to buy Twitter. You have to buy us now.
No, I don't. I really do not have to.
You signed a contract. You're going to be missing out on billions of dollars. In fact, we're going to sue you unless you go through with this acquisition.
Okay, you know what? Fine, I want to buy Twitter, actually. I'll still hold up the original offer.
Well, it doesn't matter. We don't accept their offer. We're still going to sue you.
It's too late. I already own Twitter.
You do... Okay. Am I fired or...
Yes.
Okay, bye. I guess I'm done here.
Wow. I can really do whatever I want. Let's begin.
A lot of people panicking online at the concept of a billionaire buying out this social media site. Man, the stretches in jurisdictions of this guy are pretty boundless, but there's a lot of misinformation already being spread about this. There's a lot of rumors and leaks and a lot of things that haven't been confirmed yet, but a lot of people are just wondering what happens now? What's going on now that Elon Musk has officially put himself in charge of the company? He's letting go of people, the high-end staff, and people who are working remotely are no longer able to work at the company. It seems like basically Elon knows he overpaid for Twitter based on its current valuation, but he believes it is worth it in the long run because of what he's going to turn it into, which in previous interviews and podcasts he's mentioned that he wants Twitter to become like the digital town square where everybody can basically do everything from send payments, send messages, post videos, share thoughts, and have the equivalent to what China has with WeChat, where he describes it like as a super app that does essentially everything that you need, and a lot of people just live on WeChat because it has basically all the features that you would want to use social media for. And whether you like him or not, for the record, I have a lot of issues with Elon and especially a lot of his political views, but regardless of all that, I still think the guy knows how to run a company. I mean, if you follow his success with Tesla and SpaceX and his up-and-comers even, like the Boring Company and Neuralink, the guy knows how to assemble teams that are very good at figuring out complex systems and how to make products that are definitely very complicated to get right and figure out what's going to be the best use for them, and pretty much Elon accelerates the growth and profitability of every company that he goes after. So, no, he's not a flawless businessman. He can make mistakes, and Twitter may make some bad decisions along the way, but he's quick to adjust. He's quick to figure out, okay, that's not working, let's try something else. And that's why I'm very curious about all of the changes he's making. So the biggest one that most people are talking about right now is the increase to Twitter Blue becoming $8 a month and what this price increase is justified for. So the big change is that he wants Twitter verification to be an $8 a month subscription, which I don't personally agree with. I mean, on YouTube, you don't have to pay money to get verified. There is a certain set of rules that have to happen, like you gotta surpass 100,000 subscribers and you can't change your channel name too many times. But once it's all said and done, YouTube looks over your channel, sees that, okay, this channel is legit, and then they give you the check mark. Same thing over on Twitch. If you follow their guidelines, it doesn't cost extra. You will become a partner and get that verified check. And on other sites, usually you don't have to pay for verification. I believe on Spotify, though, you do. But in my personal view, I kind of hate the whole, like, this guy's verified, or, oh, you're not verified. Like, I wanted that to go away. I wanted this to become just a boring, easy way to tell by someone's badge that this person is who they say they are. They're not a parody account. They're not a bot. If that name is there and it has the check mark, it means their identity has been verified. And I feel like that could easily just be done through a government-issued ID, or in the case of brand accounts like my own, like if that Twitter feed, if @TailosiveTech has the link to the Tailosive Tech YouTube channel there, and then Twitter can just see on my verified YouTube channel that I am linking to that same Twitter account, they're like, okay, these two accounts are forwarding to each other. There should just be a verification for that. I don't know why that has to be so complicated, but I guess one of the big issues that Elon wants to fix with Twitter is all of these bots, which allegedly they're already cracking cracking down on, trying to figure out algorithms on how to easily spot them and get rid of them. But in his view, having a paid service like Twitter Blue for verification means that people paying for Twitter Blue can be prioritized in the replies of other tweets, and that will diminish the power and voice that bots have, because it's going to be a lot harder for a bot to get verified. And once they are spotted breaking the rules of Twitter, then they lose their verification status and they're banned, but they still get to keep their money. So Elon's logic is, right now, the reason there's so many alt accounts and so many bots on the platform is it takes almost nothing to create a new bot account or an alt account. Whereas if you had to pay to get those accounts verified, Twitter would either make a ton of money off of all of these bots trying to look legit, or making all of those bots would become astronomically expensive, and the companies that are trying to push for bots would just not even try. The downside of that prioritization in Twitter replies and things, and of course you get less ads, and they also want to like let you look through articles that have a paywall with certain journalists if you have Twitter Blue, which is kind of sounding like Apple News Plus. That was a big success, right? But the downside is, for a lot of us out there, and I'm comfortable saying most of us, we don't want to pay for Twitter. We want to keep using the free version, which, yes, that's not going away. It's not going to cost $8 for you to be on Twitter, but if you feel like your voice means a little bit less because your replies and tweets and stuff is not going to be as prioritized in threads, that would definitely get a bit annoying in my view, and also kind of go against the whole concept Elon is pushing for, which is free speech. That was primarily one of the reasons he wanted to buy Twitter in the first place, was he didn't really see it as like a super profitable business or something that would make a ton of money compared to how Tesla or SpaceX is doing, but he just thought it was really important to have a digital town square where everybody was free to share their opinions, even if they were controversial or against the social norms. So I don't like getting political online, but I'm just stating the fact that Elon believed Twitter was leaning too far to the left with their moderation and banning people unrightfully. So his thought process is Twitter's going to have to restructure their moderation board so that they get lots of diverse viewpoints. There's a lot of people on the left and the right that are all coming together to decide what tweets can be said and what tweets can't be said, which I still think is somewhat dangerous to go down anytime you start saying these people get to decide what is said and isn't said. But it's still not a great solution to have complete, like, unchecked free speech either, because there can be a lot of targeted hatred, calls to violence on the platform, and especially echo chambers that can form here that you don't want to prolong. You know, if a bunch of terrible jerks, for the lack of a better term, start getting together and agreeing with each other, and then they feel like together they have a voice, and there's a lot of people that are believing very hateful or very violent things, and they feel reassured in their beliefs by finding others like them, there's downsides to that too. So I think Elon looks at it the similar way of like, we can't have completely unchecked free speech, but I do think they are in favor of transparency, which is what I didn't see as much with the old Twitter leadership. They had an algorithm that was catering content towards you, but they didn't want to disclose how that algorithm worked, whereas Elon seems to be in favor of the algorithm being open source and letting the user decide how the algorithm caters content towards them. So we're not going to get all of these updates overnight, but in interviews he's discussed like letting Twitter have a algorithm spectrum that you can decide for yourself, where you're like, I want content to come primarily from the right or from the left, or I want content to come from all sources. I don't want anything censored from my view, and that way the user can dictate how they want the social media app to work. I think there's still a lot of downsides that could come of this. I don't think there's a perfect solution that fits all. It's always dangerous whenever you have, you know, a big council of people that are trying to decide what can and can't be said, but I'd love to be a fly on the wall in those meetings to hear how those conversations are going, because having a big group of people, and a lot of them are intentionally fairly heavy left-leaning or heavy right-leaning, and are gonna have to argue about which accounts can come back and which ones can't. But on that very subject, lots of people are asking, like, so Trump is coming back, right? Because Elon did make a tweet about how they do want to get rid of lifetime bans. They don't really believe in that concept anymore. But just for the record, Trump has already stated that even if he was unbanned from Twitter, he would not come back. He's just too happy and too comfortable with his own social media site, Truth Social, which, okay, he can do his own thing there. So if your big hope was Trump was coming back, I don't think he is. He's gonna stick to his own little echo chamber, but they haven't necessarily unbanned anyone yet, but Elon said there's been no major changes yet. They're still kind of organizing who this new updated moderation council is going to be and how their structure is going to work. But my guess is, if you're curious about things like harassment and racism and stuff, is that going to be allowed on the platform with free speech? My prediction is Elon is going to say like, well, I don't agree with those people. I'm just going to encourage you to block block them or use more strict filters on the site that automatically prevent people from showing up in your replies or showing up on your tweets if you decide, I don't want that kind of thing to be on the platform. I guess they're trying to make Twitter accurately reflect, you know, the human spirit. It's like, if you choose to accept those trolls in your lifestyle, or you want them to have a voice on your feed, then you can choose to let them have a voice, but if you don't, you have the choice to easily block them or mute them, not let them say the kinds of things that they say targeted towards you. And I guess we'll have to decide in the long run whether or not that's better for the platform or worse. I think we can all agree that Facebook has definitely had a lot of downsides to trying to moderate content and trying to allow things from both sides of the political view that are often way too saturated or are far too firm in their beliefs, and then there's side effects of misinformation and all that stuff being spread around. So my guess though is that Elon is quick to adapt, so if he makes a change that results in a lot of unwelcome people showing up on the platform and then advertisers are no longer comfortable putting ads on the site, then he will change things accordingly to try to make advertisers more comfortable with it and get more strict on what is and isn't allowed. But other features that we should be getting soon, like editing tweets, should be free for all, which is good. But there has been a lot of talk about there being a paid DMs feature, which could help a lot of bigger accounts be able to cipher out like bots from DMing them, because this feature would mean you have to pay money to get into certain accounts' DMs. You would be supporting that Twitter user in the process, and then Twitter would likely get a cut of that fee. So if you really wanted to talk to a celebrity or let a celebrity know something, it may just cost you a little bit extra, and that would probably clean up a lot of people's DMs if they did enable that. But what I'm most excited for, that I would love to see Twitter get better at, is Elon has talked a lot about enhancing the video aspect of Twitter, and it seems like they want to bring back Vine, and he's asking people, how can Vine better compete with TikTok now, since that has definitely become one of YouTube's like biggest alternatives or threats, and short form content is definitely very popular. But I guess he's looking into bringing back Twitter's ownership of that short form content, while at the same time he's in favor of Twitter Blue being an income source so that they can reimburse content creators, which I fall into that camp. So I was happy to see Elon say, like, of course content creators need to make a living. So what I hope that means is a fairly clear and straightforward monetization program. I think that's one of the reasons YouTube has still remained undefeated in the content creation space, is because it's very simple to understand. You got to get 4,000 hours of watch time, you got to get over 1,000 subscribers, and then a manual review is done on your channel, and they either approve you or disapprove you to start making money. Basically, you set up a Google AdSense account, put in a wiring number, and now you can upload YouTube videos that collect watch time, and then YouTube will wire you money based on how your videos perform. That's what I think Twitter needs, especially because the video aspect of Twitter is just still god-awful. The free version, at least, you can only upload 2-minute clips. They don't give you control on the quality playback, and like many other Twitter users have been saying, like half of their tweets are linking people to YouTube. So I feel like that's a big missed opportunity, when a lot of the time us YouTubers are just promoting our content on Twitter, whereas if Twitter started letting you say, hey, you can upload your full-length videos, and here's a clear path to how you can monetize those videos. So instead of leaving Twitter to go to the YouTube app, you can watch that content creator's video straight on the Twitter app, and assuming you have a certain number of followers, or maybe at first they required Twitter Blue for this to work, but they start having, you know, somewhat competitive CPMs, and then you can start posting content directly there without having to leave the YouTube app, and then Twitter can actually start paying its users for uploading content. It sounds like that's the direction Elon wants to go in. I'm not sure if Vine is the only form of video we're gonna get back, but personally, I was a huge fan of Vine, and I still prefer like the locked-in 7 seconds compared to TikTok letting people upload longer than that. I know I'm weird, but I always thought the Vine short form made people get more creative with the videos, whereas once you start letting people upload 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute videos, then they're not as clever with the comedic timing. But maybe TikTok is a lot more scalable in that way, so they may be willing to bend the rules a bit on Vine. But I was really upset when it went away in the first place, and I would love to just have more competition to TikTok that is not owned and tracked by China, because it feels like TikTok is just this app that collects an insane amount of data on all of its users. So having an alternative that's based in the US, so just the United States government could track all of our data, somehow that feels better to me. I don't know. Digital privacy is a myth, but competition is a good thing overall. And I'm not necessarily saying I want Twitter to become more of a YouTube competitor because I want to move all of my work and all of my attention towards Twitter. I just think YouTube would try a lot harder and probably make a lot of bigger changes if they had a more legitimate threat. And it's very difficult difficult to come up with social media that can compete with established brands, YouTube has stood up the test of time. Probably one of the best aging platforms out of everything. Like, Facebook is dying and YouTube is getting less watch time than it used to, but it's still held up pretty well. And to get people to move platforms is very, very tricky. You know, I moved to Twitch for live streaming for 3 years, and I still was only able to get a fraction of my viewers over there because most people don't want to move apps, even if those alternative apps are better. So really, the only companies that have a chance at competing with YouTube are social medias that already are established brands. I really thought IGTV had a good chance of competing with YouTube, but they pushed it too hard in the vertical video direction, and they didn't have very clear monetization policies, so it didn't really go anywhere, and it's just kind of dwindled off into Instagram stories. But I feel like now that Elon's in charge of Twitter, and Elon, personally, I believe, is a lot smarter than Zuckerberg, he's going to tweak and make changes to the app to increase revenue, increase profitability, and ultimately, I think the best way for that company to increase its values in advertiser spending, as well as increase the likelihood that people will pay $8 a month for Twitter Blue, is to make the app more enjoyable, make it better, increase features, and give the people what they want. You know, if he starts making bad ideas and starts implementing things that we don't like, that we start leaving, I don't think he will continue in that direction. Kind of like how Zuckerberg likes to continue in the metaverse direction, despite it going absolutely nowhere. But making a bigger emphasis on video content or audio content, which he's mentioned, is a good idea. Although there's a lot of rumors right now suggesting that they're gonna make it like you have to pay in order to access exclusive videos for a certain account, kind of going along the lines of the super follow feature. I don't think that would age as well, especially when the platform is going through so many changes right now. I still think it should be kind of like how YouTube works with YouTube Premium. You know, if you're using the free version of Twitter, you can watch high resolution, high quality content with ads that are played before and maybe after the video, and then Twitter can compete with YouTube in that space just by saying we have less ads than YouTube has. Or if you subscribe to Twitter Blue, then there's no ads or less ads on those videos, and Twitter Blue costs a heck of a lot less than YouTube Premium. So you can get more ad-free content, or Elon saying Twitter Blue will have half the number of ads, which kind of annoys me. It's like you're paying $8 a month and you're still gonna put ads in my feed. But still, truthfully, I feel like verification should not be a paid feature, although I get it. A lot of people are saying the process of having a verification team at Twitter that kind of monitors and analyzes who can and can't be verified probably takes a lot of time and money, and because of the bot problem being so big on Twitter, maybe that's why companies like YouTube or Twitch are comfortable handing out verification for free, whereas maybe on Twitter, to try to suppress the bots and increase the profitability, they want to push the paid option a little bit harder. But I think the take rate of Twitter Blue will likely dictate whether or not they keep verification as a paid option. Right now, based on the polls I've seen, very few people are actually willing to pay for this. I'm also curious, like, will they unverify people who are currently verified and decide they don't want to pay $8 a month? I don't know. 2022 is a weird year. It's just crazy to see Stephen King arguing with Elon Musk about the difference of saving $12 a month. Like, what reality are we living in right now? This is very bizarre, but starting social media sites from the ground up almost never works out. It's like finding a successful platform is very difficult to do, and making one from the ground up is nearly impossible that people are actually comfortable using. Apple has tried with iTunes Ping and Apple Music Connect several times. It's never worked out for them. Facebook kind of blew up accidentally and then bought out everything that was a legitimate competitor, whether it was WhatsApp or Instagram. They tried to buy Snapchat and that didn't work out. So if Elon wanted to have a big voice in the social media space, buying out Twitter, I think, was probably the best way for him to do it. But he's likely figuring out now that he spent all of this money, we need to find a way to cut out the fat and stop the excess spending, which is likely why they're laying off a huge number of employees. And bizarrely, they're cutting out the work from home option, and it sounds like they're getting rid of Twitter employees like day of rest perks, which meant, I guess, paid time off, essentially. So he's skimming down a lot on the company, which Elon is known for at Tesla and SpaceX, you know, getting rid of people that don't need to be there. And I think that's because the lower their overhead is, the more profitable the business will be. And I think he'll try his best to fine-tune the app to maximize its usability and daily active users, maximize the enjoyment of it, especially if they get into having more encrypted direct messaging services, which Elon says he wants to do. That's kind of exciting to me because I feel like Meta, especially in the United States, has a complete monopoly on texting. Like, okay, iOS users are all using iMessage, but aside from that, it's like Facebook Messenger is what most people use, and then overseas it's all WhatsApp. And Meta, who's not a company that seems to care much about privacy, is like in complete ownership of everyone's texting apps, which feels a little dangerous. And having Twitter get into that space where they're like, hey, hey, let's have some competition in messaging services. I think that could be a really good thing. And he wants to add like payment to payment services as well, so you could pay people directly on Twitter. Makes a lot of sense if they're trying to find little microtransactions to take a fee on. But ultimately, I have no plans on leaving Twitter as long as it's free. If you're curious, no, I have no interest in paying $8 a month for Twitter verification or really any of the features they talked about. Maybe if they say that if you subscribe to Twitter Blue, you know, that comes with video hosting and you can post your content and start monetizing it. Maybe then I would consider it, but I don't think that's the way it's going to work, or at least long term, they'll probably realize that business model is not sustainable. So I'm excited for the changes mostly. I'm not leaving, and as much as I don't agree with Elon on a bunch of things, I think that he's good at running companies and typically finding ways of maximizing their value. Just look at Tesla, just look at SpaceX, and sure, he has his flops here and there with like the Hyperloop, and the Boring Company is taking longer to get going than usual, but hey, it's the Boring Company. But I think his intentions are good, and he seems to care a lot about the idea that people should have a voice and not feel suppressed, and social media should be more transparent, and the fact that he's just comfortable like taking requests on the platform saying, how should we do Vine? You know, how should we bring this back? Or how should the features work? How should verification work? And you know, he's like asking people what they want and implementing those features based on user request. How often do CEOs do that on a social media site? Like, that never happens. So that's why I'm excited for it. I hope you guys are too. Let me know your biggest concerns or your biggest requests for Twitter under its new management down below. And this is your Apple Sheep here. I'll see you all in the next one.